The fantasy film was to be set in a magical forest that's bursting with vivid colors. The main character would undoubtedly live here. But far from being some imaginary territory, this spectacularly colored forest actually exists. The natural visual stunner is made of lofty trees known as rainbow eucalyptus. They were originally native to the forests on the easternmost island of the Philippines archipelago, but they are now common in parts of the US and Asia. They feature strange colored barks, which are said to be the after effect of the trees sheeting as they get taller and older. As the mature bark peels off, it reveals layers of irregular, ever-changing stripes of spectacularly bright hues. These are what transform the mesmerizing trees into a sort of living work of art. Puddle of barren shrank spruce partly submerged in a peaceful iridescent lake set in a remote mountain range sounds like something for the storybooks. But the sunken forest of Kazakhstan's Kandy Lake really does create this magical sense of wonderment. This small patch of gorgeous evergreens once covered the surrounding slopes of the Tian Shan Mountains, but an earthquake in 1911 triggered deadly avalanches and violent landslides that completely altered the region's terrain. Limestone debris was sent crashing into a gorge, forming a natural dam. It was gradually flooded by rainfall and mountain river water, creating the attractive body of water known as Kandy Lake. Over time, the grove of lush trees that once stood in the filled-up section of the gorge succumbed to the rising water. Those unlucky yet hauntingly beautiful topless spruce are what became the sunken forest of Kandy Lake. Growing tall at the heart of a touristy district set on the edges of Kyoto is a mesmerizing grove of thousands of soaring stalks of slender bamboo shoots. Under the dainty deep green canopy crowning the sprawling bamboo grove is a series of pathways for tourists to experience the tranquil nature spot. These often tourist-packed paths are perhaps the most photographed spaces in the pleasant Japanese district, but the actual experience of standing amid the lush and green shoots is one that no picture can capture. There's an almost palpable sense of otherworldly serenity when the sunlight carefully spills through the wispy canopy as the tightly packed bamboo stalks sway gently in the slightest breeze. Here, even the sounds of bamboo culms creaking, branches knocking, and leaves rustling in the wind is soothingly magical. At just the right time during spring, starting late April into early June, this Belgian forest becomes completely covered with millions of bluebells. The 1,360 acre of forest floor will be transformed into a sweeping panoramic carpet of azure and green for the entire season. Walking along the forest's winding paths this time of year feels like you're living a dream, and you can't miss the thousands of colorful butterflies flitting above the bluebells or the occasional deer grazing gracefully from a distance, all adding to the charm of the full bloom. Overlooking the picturesque field of blooming wild bluebells is an ever-so-bewildering forest teeming with pines, ash trees, beech, larch, oaks, and giant sequoias. Each of these magnificent trees adds a unique shade of orange, yellow, and green that seamlessly blends into a sort of surreal color bomb. It's Mother Nature's idea of beauty, and it's heavenly. It's hard not to fall in love with this majestically beautiful forest of pink and white apricot blossoms located in the farthest reaches of China's Xinjiang County. Every year, starting at the end of July and peaking in early September, the apricot blossom festooned trees dotting the picture-perfect Apricot Valley come to full bloom. Their vibrant blush pink flowers pop against the oh-so immensely mesmerizing landscape of vast, lush green rolling hills. The romantic, fairy tale-ish vibe created when the blushing flowers are at their peak is one for festive Disney films, and it's these immensely satisfying, whimsical scenes that have been attracting intrepid world travelers to this incredibly remote destination in northwest China, close to the border of Kazakhstan. We'll just let the panoramic springtime views speak for themselves. An overgrown mushroom from a Dr. Seuss book, these curiously shaped trees can only be found on a single remote island located in the Arabian Sea's archipelago, about 200 miles off mainland Yemen. These extraordinary-looking trees are unlike many of the other unusual forests on our list, but it's not the telltale umbrella-like appearance that gives them the implied storybook quality. Instead, it's the bright red resin that oozes from its thick and weirdly gnarled trunk. Local legend has it that the deep crimson sap produced when the trees are sliced open is actually the blood of a dragon injured in battle, hence the name Dragon's Blood. There are so many beautiful places to see on the island nation of Madagascar, but one special portion of an unassuming dirt road in the western region claims to be the country's most famous landmarks. Along the said pathway is a 300-yard stretch lined with about 25 oddly blobby yet imposing baobab trees dotting both sides of the dirt road. Madagascan legends tell of a time when the entire region was lush with dense rainforest. Today, only these centuries-old thick-trunked trees remain. They stand as stark reminders of a period of rampant deforestation. They ironically still overlook the continued encroachment of forest land by rice paddies and sugarcane fields. On the bright side, this unusual baobab tree forest has become a popular travel itinerary, with tourists visiting the island country lying off the southeastern coast of Africa. Sunsets and sunrises mark the highlight of the trip here. There is a small batch of about 400 unnaturally angled pine trees tucked away in a forest of perfectly straight pine trees. The wonky trees are found in the Polish forest just south of Szczecin, the city with an impossible name. They appear to be bent over at the bottom of the trunk, forming a near-perfect 90-degree angle that gives the unusual clutch a spooky fishhook shape. It's unclear what caused this mysterious phenomenon, but the bizarrely deformed trees have somehow been garnering the attention of travelers after talk of the surrounding forest being enchanted. Well, the name of this forest does sound ominous, and oddly shaped trees do actually look eerie, but if you're into haunted woodlands, our next entry is sure to send a chill down your spine.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So, here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck.
Desert regions are an unlikely place for a forest, unless you're talking about the most unusual forest of the world, in which case this otherworldly barren forest at the heart of the Namibian desert features appropriately on this list. For spindly, barren trees, the Dead Vlei forest has defied the cruel desert conditions for over 1,000 years, something that has puzzled locals and tourists alike. It is believed that the extreme heat has prevented the harshly scorched trees from decomposing, making them look like they were frozen in time. What with their ghostly sun-blackened skeleton-like appearance and the dreamy surrounding of orange dunes and white flats, visiting the Dead Vlei forest is a far cry from your typical forest experience. As if the dark forest of an isolated island wasn't scary enough on its own, visitors who dare set foot on this island located along the canals of Xochimilco, 18 miles south of Mexico City, will be greeted by the most horrific sight. Hundreds of dolls hanging from the trees and wooden shacks, eerily decomposed, the lot of them. The story of how they got there is nearly as terrifying as the sight of the doll's lifeless eyes, but it's a 3-hour trip by Trajinera, and your guide will narrate the whole thing as you make your way to the haunted island. Local legend has it that in the 1950s, a little girl had drowned in the nearby waters. Out of respect, the island's caretaker hung up a doll he had found washed up on the shore, which he assumed to belong to the little girl. Soon, however, he claimed to have felt the spirit of the drowned girl haunting him, and he had to string up more dolls to appease the troubled soul. Many dolls later, the caretaker's body was discovered, drowned in the very spot as the little girl.